Because I felt like doing it, let's do a third Cowboys report tonight. Many of you asking about the Mike Florio claim. The Cowboys have had interest, spoken about moving up to the number 1 overall pick. We'll discuss that. And then I'll throw to some of the notable thoughts I had coming out and clips from the Brian Schottenheimer press conference earlier today. But I figured 3, why not? Even though I am currently being harassed by Eagles Now host Chase Sr., who's playing Eagles Super Bowl highlights in the room next to me, and it's ridiculous there. Third video, different style, no graphics, but we'll have the press conference clips. A lot of content for you guys. Hit that sub button if you haven't already for more free Cowboys videos. Let's get into the Florio side. He told 105.3 The Fan, and I'll quote him verbatim here. I did hear yesterday, you hear all sorts of stuff, and I don't like to traffic in stuff I've heard because I don't know how accurate it is. But I did have somebody tell me the Cowboys have talked to the Titans about moving up to number 1. Now, first off, at the risk of starting a Starbucks fight with Florio, I think it is ridiculous to say that you don't like to traffic in stuff you've heard and then immediately traffic in stuff you've heard, which is also your job to traffic in stuff you've heard. So own one of them or don't do it as far as I'm concerned. Florio then also mentioned, like, maybe you got to put Micah Parsons in the trade package and all that stuff. And from what I have gathered today at the Combine, no! This does not pass the smell test at all, and no one is really treating it with any sort of credibility. This is not one to actually take as a serious conversation of like, yeah, the Cowboys have real interest in moving up to number 1. I think there very well could be an NFC team that moves up to number 1 overall. I think there is a real chance if the Giants don't end up being able to acquire Matthew Stafford. We'll see where that goes in the end. I think there's a real chance they jump up to number 1 and take a quarterback there. That would not be a surprise. The Cowboys jumping up to number 1 is, I would argue, mostly nonsense. That didn't. The reactions from people who would know a lot more than me and would know a lot more than Florio on that were one of complete dismissal of that report. So do not buy it at all. Now, you can still vote if you wish. Do you want the Cowboys to try to move up to number 1 overall, knowing it would cost you a lot? Why for yes and for no, go vote at the pinned comment of today's video. Here's the ad comes here on the YouTube side. All right, I want to get some of the press conference takeaways here as it relates to Osa Odighizuwa and a lot more from Brian Schottenheimer. As we mentioned earlier today, after Mike Fisher had first reported it, Cowboys closer to a deal with Osa Odighizuwa. I know Todd Archer's mentioned something similar too. My boy Nick Harris mentioning that as well. There is still work to be done, but this is very clearly, as Schottenheimer said, a player the Cowboys have a lot of interest in bringing back.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of ongoing conversations. Obviously, Osa has done a terrific job for us. He's a terrific young player. He does everything right. And as those communications keep going, it's never done till it's done, but he'd be a guy we'd love to have back.
I don't know when it gets done. There is still work to be done. I wouldn't rule out this week. I watched Stephen Jones head into one of the steakhouses here with what I think was Adam Pacifica and the contract crew, and I think an agent, couldn't quite identify from where I was at. I think they're going to work on that one. I think they want to get that one done. We'll see the timing of it all. There's plenty going on, but if they can get a little bit closer on the money differences, I think that is a player they want to retain. I know Matt Eberflus wants to retain him as well because he needs a 3 technique. There are the risks we mentioned earlier today, but that's one there's a lot of interest in. Now, one thing that does have me worried from what Schottenheimer had to say today was his comments will play right now on interest in adding other players in free agency.
Well, I think, again, it's a tough question. David, I can't answer that. It depends on what players you're talking about. Like I said, we're always going to start with our guys. We know them, right? We've got history with them. We've developed those guys. We understand their strengths, their weaknesses, what they bring to the table from a culture standpoint. So, again, it all depends on how things go. It's a very competitive business. It's a very competitive time of year. There's incredible dialogue going on all day, every day here in Indianapolis. I've learned that. And so I think that's the exciting part about this time of year is you really are competing with these other teams that want to come in and acquire your players. And we're going to make it very tough to let those guys leave.
I don't want to panic on that one, but when I heard it, I was like, this sounds a lot like we like our guys again. And I don't like that. I don't want to be we like our guys crew. I don't think it's a good process. I think you need to do more than that. Now, part of what Schottenheimer was really saying was, and he mentioned this previously in kind of a couple disjointed answers, was right now he's been focused on building the staff. He's talking about Ashton Jeanty. He knows who Ashton Jeanty is. He's seen some highlights from, watching college football games. He hasn't done any work on Ashton Jeanty. He hasn't had time. It's been build the staff. It's been focus on the internal guys coming up in free agency. Then it's go to that stuff in the next week or so. Then it's time for the draft. So I wouldn't overreact to that one, except for the fact that I have no faith in the front office to actually do the stuff we want them to do in free agency. My trust level is low. I am sure your trust level is low as well. So grade it, or rank it, I should say, for me. Scale it, whatever term I want to do. Scale it 1 to 10 in the comments, your trust level in the Cowboys front office. Now, that was a negative thing I had with Schottenheimer. I actually really liked his comments about building a coaching staff and how he has kind of tracked coaches, which allowed him to find guys like Clayton Adams, who he said he met years ago and was really impressed by, and kind of put him on his list. So let's hear from Schottenheimer on that.
It's a great question, Clarence. I think, this is something that I've done for a long time, which means spend the off season, the summer. My wife gets mad at me, but tracking coaches. I literally call guys in the business that I know and that I trust, and I'm like, hey, tell me somebody that maybe you think the world of, but that I've never heard of. And, it's such a close-knit fraternity that guys are happy to share good people with good people. I think there's 3 guys maybe that I've worked with before that weren't carryover guys. When you asked me initially how the staff was going to come together, did I think that would be the case? Probably not. But, again, the guys that came in, I think we found great teachers. We found guys that were incredible people, and I have a real big belief in fundamentals. And so I think if you look at all the coaches that we've added, both young, old, the ability to train fundamentals and the developmental process of our players is critical. And one last thing, I know for a fact our players are going to feel the passion and energy of this staff. This staff is awesome, just in terms of the energy, the way they want to teach, the way they want to be on the grass. So I can't wait to see us get to work here in a couple months.
Again, I like that. I think that is what I want you to do with your coaching staff. Don't have a bunch of yes men. Have a bunch of guys. You can have some guys you've got a good relationship with, but building out that staff with different options and ideas. And he spoke glowingly of Clayton Adams, who he said he met when Adams was with the Colts. And met him at the Combine, I think he said, and at least he said here, so maybe that wasn't the Combine, it was just literally in Indy. And it was like, wow, that guy's different. And to have that filed away, have that stashed, and then be able to get him into your coaching staff, I think that's really good. The stuff that we can judge Schottenheimer on so far, as much as I despise the process, I did mean to bring the toast here, and I forgot to, was the staff. And so far, I think the staff's pretty good. So grade it for me, A, B, C, D, or F. Schottenheimer also had comments on 2 different offensive linemen. First up, Tyler Guyton. Now, Guyton, I think, needs to get a little bit more physical, a little bit stronger, needs to grow, develop. Schottenheimer twice went out of his way to mention Guyton as someone he's kind of excited about, wants to see how they can develop him. Here's, I think, the most notable part about Guyton busting his butt.
You watch Cooper Beebe, Tyler Guyton, those guys. Tyler Guyton's been in the weight room every day. He's working his ass off. And to me, that's really exciting. But I think the influence of Clayton, the influence of Connor Riley, I think that package was so important for us, and I think we hit a home run.
That's what I want. I want Guyton working hard. They're going to keep him at left tackle by all counts. I don't think you're going to have changes at left tackle, right tackle. I think you will have Guyton there, Steele there, and those guys need to play better. Hopefully Clayton Adams, Connor Riley, your new OC and O-line coach, can deliver that. Also of note was Cooper Beebe. Now, he was asked about Beebe moving over to guard, where Connor Riley, the O-line coach and former OC O-line coach at Kansas State, had him at times. He also played some tackle in college. Schotty was not closing the door on it, but I did not get the vibe from his answer that was a very likely one.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see it. We're always going to play the best five. It'd be hard to move a guy that had that much experience playing center this year at a high level. But anything's on the table, depending on playing the best five.
I would guess you keep Beebe at guard or at center, and maybe you give Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass a chance. Maybe you sign a veteran guard. If the value's right in the draft, maybe you try to get a right guard to replace Zach Martin. Schotty did not confirm that Zach Martin was going to retire, but that's obviously still the expectation and planning there, and the official announcement at some point in the distant future. But I don't think you'll end up seeing Beebe move. So that's it for us tonight. We'll have more for you guys tomorrow. We'll post the Ashton Genty press conference for you guys on the channel, and then have more updates for you from the Combine.